So one more piece about that, again, using good learning theory, if you look at well-researched formative assessment practices, if you give students feedback on a piece of work and a grade, the only thing they look at is the grade, and the feedback becomes meaningless. So in keeping with good learning theory, that's why we did not delineate once we got to meeting standards, because if our whole point, as Dr. Fudenik shared earlier, is to move the big middle, and we want everyone to be improving practice, then we need to design based on good learning theory. So labeling more specifically actually undermines the growth that is possible. All right. So what most of today's conversation has been about. What about people who struggle? So in our current system, as we identified, there was a lack of consistency. Administrators didn't have enough time or training to do what they felt like was an effective job. So this is what we're designing, and what we spent most of our time explaining so far is the professional practice phase of our system of professional growth. What I'm going to explain to you now is called advisory. So if there is a question of if someone is meeting standards or not, there is some minimal level of documentation that does need to occur. But in order to address current system flaws, we have created advisory, under which the person who is initially conducting the evaluation is removed from the process. That ensures that this is not about bias or personality conflict, which right now in an inconsistent system is prone to question. Another thing, by assigning an advisor, the position we're creating of advisor is someone who would be, if not a consulting teacher, someone who would be as trained. So this person would have the knowledge, the skills, and the time to effectively support someone who is identified as struggling. So we have met all of the concerns of our current system around the lack of training, the time, and any personality or bias that may have entered into the process by assigning someone new. After someone goes through the advisory process and is working with an advisor, if they are meeting standards, they go right back to a regular professional practice phase because they're meeting standards. It happens often, because we do co-chair PAR, that once someone receives support, they are off and running and meeting standards consistently. It is only after going through this advisory process, if someone is not meeting standards, because now we have been able to ensure all of the concerns have been met, that someone can enter into PAR, and Rick will explain PAR.
So our peer assistance and review program is basically set up with high-quality consulting teachers who go through a very rigorous process to be selected. Those teachers serve as a 4-year term. They're pulled out of the classroom for 4 years. And as part of that process, they continue to be trained. They continue to work together in their process to refine their skills. And ultimately, once a teacher is assigned to PAR, they're assigned a consulting teacher. And that struggling teacher then will meet with that, the consulting teacher will meet with that teacher for up to 3 hours a week throughout a school year, in which that teacher, the consulting teacher, is providing support. They're doing observations. They're doing co-teaching. They're taking them out of the classroom to have them do observations of other teachers, multiple types of support. Now, we meet, once a teacher is in PAR, we meet every 6 weeks. We have a panel, and our panel is represented by 4 teachers throughout the district, as well as 3 administrators, with Shannon and I sitting on as the co-leads to those committees. And so the consulting teacher, the teacher who is in PAR, a representative of the association, as well as the site principal, will meet every 6 weeks to review the process that was developed with the principal, the consulting teacher, and the teacher initially, to go over and review and help support and find out where they are in the process. Now, this is a process that typically would go throughout the year to a point where at some point after a year, the panel then makes a recommendation to either release that person back into teaching, they're fine, continue support into a second year, or to be removed. And so by the time we get to that level, there's been a lot of support that's been documented, that's been communicated as a system, so that we feel that we've done every step possible to support that teacher. So within a year, ultimately, of commitment, we feel pretty confident in our decisions. We feel that, for the most part, it's more cost-effective at this point to keep teachers, to support teachers, and continue to provide them and help them grow at this point, because knowing that we're in a shortage, and unless there's something very outrageous, we need to continue that support.
One final note on PAR, or two, actually. It has happened that when someone is presented with the evidence every 6 weeks of them being ineffective and unable or unwilling to improve, sometimes people do choose to resign mid-year rather than continue the process. So it is not always a year. And as far as the cost, which we've heard earlier, that the concern is the length of time that people stay in the system and how expensive it is to get rid of ineffective teachers. By having a high-quality PAR program in place, the time is managed, and it is extremely cost-effective because it is only a percentage of the salary of the person who is providing that support. And so far in our program, we have not yet had a recommendation for dismissal that's been approved by the board be challenged or overturned. So with that, our colleagues from San Jose.
And thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Jennifer Thomas. I'm president of the San Jose Teachers Association. It's a pleasure to be summoned to the second greatest city in California to talk about teacher evaluation and probation, a topic very near and dear to our hearts and very exciting, I'm sure, for everybody at 3:30 on before the holiday break. I have pages and pages of notes listening to all the conversation here today, but Julia Kopic took them all, so I would just like to echo pretty much everything that woman has ever said, written, or done, and it is well known and publicly documented that someday I intend to be Shannon Brown. So I would like to echo everything my colleague from San Juan has said. So I will very briefly speak about the San Jose experience. I represent 1,700 of the greatest educators in the greatest state in the nation in an effort to educate 33,000 students from incredibly diverse and wonderful backgrounds. But we decided that our evaluation system some time ago was fundamentally broken because it neither supported incredible teacher growth and student achievement in a way we thought great teaching should evidently do, nor did it identify teachers who needed support, nor did it identify two teachers who needed support, that they needed support and perhaps a different profession. So when we sat down, we said very similar things to what Shannon and our colleagues in the other SJTA said, which is the significant problems are that the methodology is problematic, the kind of dog and pony show, the documentation that is created, waters teaching and other educational professions down to a series of checkboxes and make summative determinations based on anecdotes, which were rife here today and extremely problematic to the wife of a statistician. And it attempts to reduce teaching to a number to identify the impact a human being has on the raising of other human beings. So we created a robust system that puts a lot of eyes on educators, and then another layer to ensure that those people doing the evaluations are doing so in a way that is consistent with our goals. So our probationary employees come in, they are assigned an evaluator from their own site, and they are also assigned a consulting teacher, which for us, they are assigned through the probationary process. These evaluators and our consulting teachers go through an extremely comprehensive training program through our partnership through another Massachusetts organization called the Research for Better Teaching, which if you're not familiar with them, you should Google them immediately, well, not immediately, soon, later, maybe tomorrow, and read about the remarkable work they do to help educators understand how to give actionable and valuable feedback to other educators. So that intensive training prepares our evaluators to go into classrooms or go into SLP rooms to talk to nurses to figure out how best to make sure our educators are actually educating our children. Once all of that intensive, and of course Mr. O'Donnell is correct, the amount of time and energy it requires to give a proper evaluation to a professional is insane. But once that is completed, all evaluations go to a body we call the Teacher Quality Panel. The teacher quality panel is like PAR for new teachers, but it actually oversees the entire evaluation process for fairness, accuracy, transparency, adherence to our shared values, and of course our district's strategic plan. All evaluations are reviewed by 3 people appointed by the Teachers Association and 3 people appointed by the superintendent. They are reviewed anonymously for quality control and to ensure fairness in our system. Our educators can appeal for support. They have a place to complain when there's a problem, and all of these issues that sometimes get hidden under the veil of secrecy that happens in some of our public institutions are risen to the surface in a way that everybody understands. We have seen tremendous improvements in the quality of the evaluation reports. We have seen tremendous improvements in the accountability of our supervisors because somebody's actually making sure that they are completed, not just our overburdened human resources department. And we have seen, I think, enormous improvement in the pride in our profession that our educators take, and the feedback we've gotten from our probationary teachers about their relationships with their supervisors and their consulting teachers have been incredibly positive and incredibly significant. So that is how we have taken our work and run with it. I think what's most critical, my topic sentence would be, is that we did that in San Jose because that is what is right for San Jose. The continued struggle, and I look at the bills and I know that their intentions are good, is more legislation from Sacramento that would force us to change a thing we created in responding to research and to need and to urgency that is working for us. We think would be incredibly damaging to that. And what we'd like to see is a minimum guarantee to the educators of this state with flexibility for local associations and district leadership to create a system that works for them. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Steve McMahon. I'm the Chief Business Officer. Steve McMahon, Chief Business Officer for San Jose Unified School District. Definitely appreciate the invitation. I want to especially extend my appreciation for those of you that have stuck it out. I think there's often a question about commitment, and having practitioners come and give off a day of work to testify before you is a big commitment on our part. So I do appreciate the 3 of you that are remaining, to the audience for listening to this. Hopefully I'll get some pointed questions too. The debate's a lot more fun than the static presentations. I've dedicated my career to public education. I was a secondary mathematics and leadership teacher. I was the bargaining chair for the local association. I was the union president. Now I oversee Silicon Valley's largest school district from the chief business officer side. I mean, I do all the operations. Heavily invested in this process, just like Ms. Thomas is. Throughout my career, I've been steadfastly focused on you have to define the problem first. You have to have clarity on what you are trying to solve before you go to implement solutions. Far too often in this state, we don't define the problem. We react to the lawsuit, we react to the media, react to complaints. We don't sit down and say, what are we trying to accomplish, and then develop a long-term strategic solution that will actually be implemented with fidelity. I think the bills before you are problems. We have issues with seniority. We have issues with evaluation. We have issues with the probationary period. What unifies all those, to me, is in complete alignment with the local control funding formula. Kudos to the legislature and the governor for recognizing the state mandating how we spend our dollars did not help students achieve. 6 million students in California cannot get an approach from Sacramento that says, if you do this, they will all learn. The local control funding formula does not tell a school district how to educate students. It ensures that you do them with minimum requirements and expectations and accountability measurement. We need the same thing on these 3 bills. As Ms. Thomas described, San Jose Unified has already developed ways to improve the evaluation system. We have peer evaluations. We have highly trained administrative staff to do those evaluations. We have the consulting teachers. We have the whole system in place, instructional coaches. But we are blocked by outdated state laws that don't let us fully implement the changes. You might be aware that we went to the State Board of Education for a probationary period change. We were told to go to the State Board because that was the process. State Board didn't like it. Go to the legislature. We go to the legislature, blocked again. We've heard a lot at this hearing about what California does not do. What are you doing to allow the school districts that have already implemented positive change to fully execute that with fidelity? We have the pieces in San Jose Unified. We need the legislative relief to fully implement them. We need the local control funding formula model for evaluations, for seniority, and for probation. We're likely to be coming before the legislature over the next couple of years with more legislation. Are you committed to moving forward change? The likelihood, given the comments in this hearing, that you're going to get change at the 6 million student scale anytime soon is unlikely. How about letting school districts that are ready to go today, that have the pieces in place, move forward? We proposed a 1 to 3 year probationary period. If we hire a teacher from a neighboring school district with 15 years of experience, why not make them permanent after the first year? They've gone through the training. They're highly skilled professionals. That's why we hired them. First year teacher out of the teacher preparation program, maybe we need to look at 3 years. That local flexibility, as Ms. Thomas said, is what school districts need. Money speaks louder than words. You gave school districts local control with the dollars. Now give them local control on major policy decisions like this. You could very easily craft legislation that says, in the absence of a collected and negotiated agreement on evaluation, probation, and seniority, you default to the state standard. If you collectively bargain an alternative that meets the minimum criteria, let us implement it. We have collectively bargained a better alternative than anything you're talking about. Let us go forward with that. Happy to answer any questions, and once again, fully appreciate the opportunity.
No, thank you for your information and your passion. I'm it. No, I get where both of you are coming from, and it's kind of the same place, kind of not. But I very much appreciate the information and your passion. You've been very thorough in your presentations, and I thank you for also holding out, waiting, for this moment as well. And thank you.
Thank you.
Did I have any questions for them?
Good afternoon. My name is Evelyn Macias, and I'm the mother of one of the 9 students.
Hold on.
Yes.
Hold on. Hold on 1 moment. Okay, public comment. Yeah, just limit your comments to 1 minute, please.
Okay.
And you may proceed.
Sorry about it. It's my first time. Okay.
You may proceed.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Evelyn Macias, and I don't have a fancy title. I'm the mother of one of the 9 students who brought Vergara versus California, the education lawsuit that challenges the quality blind tenure and layoff laws discussed today. I submitted a request to testify before this committee, but my request was turned down. It's disappointing to me to see that you didn't have a single parent or student here today to testify, especially parents from low-income communities of color, Latino and African American. And it's even more disappointing for me to see that hardly any of the committee members are here today except for you, Mr. Chairman. So thank you for staying to hear my comments. California's current tenure and layoff laws are having a detrimental impact on my children and children all over the state. These laws keep some of the least effective teachers in the classroom, forcing students to lose out on critical learning time. Equally important, these laws are responsible for pushing wonderful, effective teachers out of the classroom just because they have less seniority, and this makes no sense. Like countless other parents and voters throughout California,
If you could sum up, please. Please sum up.
I believe that our current education system is broken.
Thank you.
But with political
Thank
will,
you.
your political will,
Thank you.
it can be fixed.
Thank you.
We owe it.
Next speaker, please. 1 minute.
Mr. Chair, Seth Bramble here on behalf of more than 300,000 members of the California Teachers Association. I also want to compliment on the makeup of the panel. I was excited because for the most part, or panels and presentation today, I was excited because for the most part, often in hearings like this, in presentations and info hearings, the teacher, the classroom teacher, the practitioner, the one who's in the classrooms every day working to help kids thrive is often absent. So I was excited to see so much attention given to the professionals, to the experts who are working in our schools, and I do want to thank both the chair and staff for putting together the kind of panel that truly recognizes these professional experts.
Thank you. Thank you. If you could sum up.
Okay, taken as a whole, these proposals to eliminate seniority or to delay and destroy permanent status would move California the opposite direction of retaining and recruiting teachers. Our teacher evaluation framework is available online.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I'm Ron Rapp, speaking on behalf of the California Federation of Teachers. We represent over 120,000 educators and education support professionals. We took opposed positions on all three of these bills. Each of these bills address teacher evaluation in negative ways. We believe that the purpose of any teacher evaluation system is to provide important information to the teacher on an ongoing basis so that they can improve their practice over the course of their career. Any teacher evaluation system must be grounded in the philosophy that it is to be used to provide professional growth opportunities for educators, not to punish them and take away their due process rights. Punishing educators is exactly what these three bills attempt to do, not support their professional growth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rapp.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is Damaris Canton, and I'm a parent in the San Juan Unified School District. While we appreciate all the work you've done today, we believe that your research is not complete until you hear from the perspectives of the most important stakeholders of all, our students. Students and parents can shed light on what's actually going on in our schools and what actually works for our kids. My community needs high-quality education, and education decision makers in my community need parents and students if there is going to be a real chance of eliminating the achievement gap. But it is so hard for parent and student voice to be heard and valued. It shouldn't be this hard. We ask that you will set the example for meaningful parent involvement and include us in these important decisions that greatly impact our kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Sorry, I'm short. Good afternoon. My name is Jeanette Nunez. I also from San Juan School District. I'm a parent. I respectfully request that you consider students, parents, and the special needs community in evaluating the teachers and helping them decide what would be appropriate way to evaluate the teachers. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Joy Wake, and I am a parent practitioner in San Juan Unified. We think the work of teachers is far too important to ignore student voice, and we agree that teachers are professionals who should be treated like professionals. Because true professionals care about and seek feedback from those they serve, student surveys should be an essential element of a system for professional growth. What students think matters and has proven to help teachers improve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Tom Nelson. I am a volunteer and part-time employee with high school students in the Civitas Political Studies Academy at a San Juan high school. Our high school students are engaged in programs of civic action, and those students desire to serve the public and government committees such as yours. I would be happy to offer the opportunity for you to hear from our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Brett Barley with Students First. We think the issues raised here today are some of the most critical issues facing California's education system. We've been honored to stand with the student plaintiffs in the Vergara decision, and we look forward to working with everybody here today on a constitutional structure that will really work for California's kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Brad Strong with Children Now. Wholeheartedly agree with your opening statements about the need to recruit, train, and support more teachers. We will stand with you on that and again this year. That said, there seems to be a misunderstanding in our that was brought up at the start of the meeting. In our view, we cannot gloss over the disparities and inequitable distribution of our most important resource, especially when our most challenged schools and students are most directly impacted. We look forward to working with you in the years ahead to increase the pipeline of high-quality teachers, to improve evaluation and support for teachers, and to ensure that the needs and rights of our students are elevated and considered alongside those of teachers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. I'm Liz Guillen with Public Advocates. We're a civil rights legal organization. We work closely with community-based organizations of parents and students to try to bring equity into the education system. We feel that these three pieces of legislation put policy issues, the cart before the horse, essentially. And we believe that a good evaluation system that provides information from observations around and links it to their professional development, something that's divorced now, with the promise of actually enabling the evaluation process to be a force for improving instruction is what we need. We also agree with some of the prior speakers around the importance of including student voice in the evaluation of teachers, as well as both students and parents in the development of systems at the local level. Thank you.
Thank you. And when you talk about the student voice, let's have, not today, but let's have more conversation on that and what that might look like. I see I have some concerns there, but I also see some opportunities as a longtime classroom teacher and what that might look like and how that tool might be used in an ultimate evaluation. Because I look at my own children, my own 2 girls, and I look at their classroom experience through the years, and I still have one in elementary, one in middle. And there's been teachers, teacher's kind of hardcore. I don't know if that's the best fit. And I don't know if my feedback would have, would have really helped that teacher at that point. Later on down the line, I actually appreciated that teacher a little bit more because of their approach. That's just one example in my own life that I'm offering up right now, and what makes me a little bit curious about that approach too, and as a classroom teacher, and how that might help me. But I'm certainly open to it. So let's have that conversation after the holidays and when we get back.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank all the panelists for coming today. Great information, great discussion, and certainly I appreciate the others who are out there who listen with us as well. And thank you to my team up here for putting today's hearing and yesterday's hearing together. It's been a busy 2 days. So with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.